Hi, this is Tom from Inspiration Metalworks, and welcome to the video today. Today's video is actually a series I'm going to do on some art projects that I've got going on. There is there's an event here in town called Savor Fuquay, and one of the organizers got in touch with me and wants me to donate some of my artwork. And I was flattered, frankly. I was very flattered. And this is my hometown, right? This is a small town, and the town that I live in, and I want to be able to give back a little bit too. So in this video, we're going to go through the process it takes to make one of the garden signs that I make. So I'll just go through. I've already got this one designed, so we'll go through the cutting, all the setup, everything that goes with it. And the sign actually is this one right here. I don't know how well you guys can see that or not. Try and get the shine in there. So this is the one that we're going to be making today. And so in this video, I'll take you step by step how we do that. So thank you very much. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Alright, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're working on for this project. So one of the... probably edit this. Sorry guys. One of my more popular garden art signs is actually a design that I didn't even draw myself. I want to give credit to the designer. This particular one, and sorry it's upside down on the screen, it's just how I'm laying it out for the cutting today. But this particular one was donated to Plasma Spider, the Plasma Spider website, by another designer. And so if you are a member of Plasma Spider, you can download these designs. I am a member. I also upload some of my designs. Although there are people who upload a whole lot more than I have, but I tend to upload my military designs that other people haven't done yet. But so that's where this one came from. This particular garden sign that I'm getting ready to do today is going to be donated to the town. So there's an event happening in my town. I live in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. I know it's Tom Lipton's favorite place to try and pronounce, but anyways, this one's going to the town. It's going to be a part of the Savor Fuquay event. They are going to have a live auction. I'm doing this and a couple of other pieces that I've done, original pieces of mine. But anyways, I just wanted to start with this, and then I'll switch angles, and we'll see how the plasma cam cuts it out. No, I don't remember how to stop it. Alright, once we have it off the table, off the cutting table, and that's cooled off. Alright, our next step is to do our cleanup, right? So let's take a look. Now, I have a Hypertherm PowerMax 45, and it does not, for 14 gauge, which is kind of thin stuff, right? Some of the bigger models have fine cut consumables that'll let you dial it down to 30 amps or things like that and do fine cutting. What I found with my plasma cam, and part of this is because I don't have some of the upgrades, and frankly I've never bolted the feet down to the floor. In order for me to get a nice clean cut, from the I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but yeah, there you go. So in order for me to not get jerkiness as it's going through at high speed cutting, which is, you know, for 14 gauge, I'd be cutting at like 250 inches a minute, which is, you know, very, very fast for this. I have to dial it down to 90 inches a minute. That's my sweet spot. Somewhere between 90 and 100 inches a minute is the sweet spot on my setup for the plasma cam, which means even at 30 amps, I'm not going to get a dross-free cut. I get a nice, easy cut, right? And if we take my clipping hammer, the stuff comes off really easily, right? You guys can see that? I don't know if you guys can see that. So the stuff just comes right off. But of course, when you're doing a lot of these, you don't want to, you know, do this all by hand. So I use a wire cup like this one, right? And so let me get this clamped down and we'll get it cleaned up. We'll get this knocked out. And of course, hearing protection, eye protection. Got to wear your protective gear. So as you can see, the big stuff comes off quickly, and then we start, you know, in those tight corners like that, we get a little bit of extra buildup. So it takes some time. I'll go ahead and finish this. I'll flip it over just to get any spray off the other side and get this cleaned up, and I'll bring you back for our next step. So our next step is to switch to a sanding disc, because what we want to do is we want to take any sharp edges off, we want to smooth it out, and we want to go ahead and just give it a more organic feel, because right now it's very two-dimensional, it's very flat, right? And especially when we get the powder coat on, it's going to feel like kind of a 2D drawing, which isn't a bad thing, but I like to give a little bit of shape. And so I do that all by hand. I don't know how well you can see it right now. It's a little exaggerated with the color differences as I get through the mill scale and get into the actual steel itself. But it does help to give it a little bit more curvature. As I'm coming into places like this, I'm giving those wings a bit of a feel that they're actually folding or unfolding. Some of this will show through in the powder coat. Not everything will. Again, it's just meant to soften it a little bit. It's not meant to give it a three-dimensional feel, a fully three-dimensional feel. The backside, but really all we're doing is just smoothing it out, right? Because every place that there might be a little bump or something like that, we want that to be nice and smooth. This could be a piece that you do have both sides displayed, and in that case we would, you know, double up and make sure that we've got everything exactly the same. But in this case, because we've got to put the posts on it, so that you can put this in the ground, those posts have to go someplace. They'll get TIG welded onto here, and that will, if I'm not yelling because I'm wiring these things, that will give, you know, it doesn't look quite as nice from the backside. But that's actually the next step, is to prep those stakes and get them welded on. Okay, went ahead and got the stakes done. As you can see, the taper on one end, right, so it goes in easier. I don't know how well you can see that or not. Focused for you. But anyways, what we want to do is make sure that we've got them about the same place, same length. We want it straight up and down, so it's easier to put in the ground. And then I use a piece of scrap. I don't know how well you can see it. I use a small piece of scrap to help keep it nice and level and straight. So that's about right there. I was going to TIG weld this, but then I realized what it was, and it's like, oh, it's just a stake. It doesn't really need to be TIG welded. So we're just going to use a MIG welder, and we'll get it tacked in place at the top, and then we'll do a weld on each side. And it's more than enough to withstand any abuse. there's our first one. Now the trick is to get the second one line up like the first one is. So what I typically do, something like this, is get a long straight edge and a square. We get it lined up, and then we'll get the welding done. I'll bring you back in a little bit. Alright, so the welding process leaves a little discoloration on both sides, right? So there's some little splatter and stuff like that, and then on the front side you can tell where all the welds were. Right? So we'll go back through, we'll hit it with the wire brush, and then we'll hit it with the sander again to clean that up. Just real quick, doesn't take a whole lot of time. So the reason we do this is to feather those edges in. Bring it in closer so you can see. This is still hot from the welding. Right, so what you got is you get this discoloration through here, as well as it peels some of the mill scale off. So we want to feather that in a little bit, because we're going to leave this mill scale on. We're not going to bother. It's bonded. It's not going anywhere. But we're going to leave that on. But we don't want anything to flake off later on, especially not as we're getting into the powder coat process. So powder coating, when we seal this up, that's what's going to let you use this outdoors, right? Because it's steel, and we want this to be strong. I don't want this to, you know, frankly, I compete against Walmart, right? I mean, they get very, to put it kindly, they get rather inexpensive products that they bring in from overseas, and I have to compete against that somehow. And what I won't do is skimp on my materials. So I use a good, strong gauge material, and then I make sure it's powder coated, and the powder coat acts as a sealant. It's kind of a dry paint that you bake on. And so that's the next step for this, is to get it powder coated, get it sealed up, and it's ready to go. Alright, when you work in a small shop like mine, you have to use your space wisely. So what you're seeing is my little portable powder coat booth. And for those of you that don't know what powder coating is, powder coating uses an electrostatic method of adhering the powder, or drawing the powder in towards the metal. What's nice about using this is it gets into all the little nooks and crannies, right? It's going to flow in there because of the positive charge on one side and the negative charge on the particles, or vice versa. I don't remember which one's which, but either way, it works out very well, and it gives you a very nice finish. So we'll start with the back side. And again, it's gonna draw that powder into all those little crevices, so we don't have to worry about moisture getting in there or anything. Alright, and we'll just work our way around. I like this. Alright, here's that side. We'll flip it around and do the other side. I hope you guys are, I wasn't standing in front of the camera that whole time. Okay, so as you can see, some of it is wrapped around to the other side. See, especially around the edges, you'll start to see that. I'm shooting. Are you guys see? You guys seeing it? That's good. So now we're just making sure that this side is done, and it's going to fill in any of the other little, in all the little cuts. There's going to be some spots that it can get to better from one side than the other. And so we're just making sure we're getting all that filled in good, because we want this to be good and sealed from the weather and the elements. And this particular one is a satin black that we're using today. That was the request, was to do it in satin black. So that's what we're doing today. And it looks very dull right now. So what you'll see, well, you guys won't see it, but what happens in the baking process is, the first thing that happens is what we call it's called wetting in. And it's literally called wetting in because it, as the paint melts, it looks wet. Right, so that's your first step in that. It's when you know that you've got the part's temperature, and then from there it bakes at a certain point. For this particular one, it's 400 degrees for 10 minutes after it wets in, and that will cure it fully, and then we'll be ready to go. So I'll bring you back after it's done baking. Well, thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process we go through when we make one of our signs, or in this case the garden sign, the garden art. Next week's video, or the next video that I do in this series, because this one might have to go a little more quickly so that we get it done in time for the Savor Fuquay event, will be a little more in depth, because we've got some drawing to do. We might do some of that directly on the plasma cam system, show you how that works, how we do drawings, and then a bit more cutting and assembly, because I believe the other piece that I wanted to get done for this is not necessarily a hat stand, but more like an umbrella stand that has some of the history of the town in its design. So anyways, thank you guys, really appreciate it, and hope to see you soon.